Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show Style and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course, and as you can see from the title of this video, I love taking a look back on some older seasons of Love and Marriage Huntsville. And when you watch things over, when you watch episodes over, you kind of almost get a new revelation or an additional revelation, and especially when you're looking back at it some years later. So I want to talk about when Martell tried to gaslight Melody and justify him having multiple women. It is an argument that they are having in front of the cameras. And in my opinion, when it comes down to reality TV, I find that reality TV couples, they very rarely argue in front of the cameras. And with Melody and Martell, season one of Love and Marriage Huntsville, we definitely get that. The only other argument that really comes to mind was on the Real Housewives of Atlanta between Cynthia and Peter when he wanted to rent an apartment on the other side of town and was trying to call it his man cave. And Cynthia said, absolutely not, because I don't want you doing God knows what over in this man cave that you want on the other side of town. Plus, that's another bill, and we're struggling to pay the bills of this household because we all know that he was having issues starting with his restaurant Uptown and then the bar One. And so Peter was really pissed. He was cursing at Cynthia, cursing her out. And she was saying, don't talk to me that way. He said, so now I can't even curse like I want. Like that was like an argument. And so is this scene between Melody and Martell. So it was really just like a couple having a raw argument. And he even referenced, she brings up when they first got married, and he's going to reference her age, talking about you probably didn't even know what to expect. And that really stood out for me as I was binge watching. And I just want to talk about that and how he may have tried to target her for the okey doke. And then I want to talk about how when he is with Dr. Francis, he admits to something that he's trying to gaslight Melody on. So before we get into these sound bites, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. Everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. And the Copyright Act of 1976 says that my fair use commentary on these sound bites are allowed. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this first soundbite. Again, it is a straight up argument between the two of them, and then I will come back with my commentary.
Say I did. You wouldn't. Seriously?
I think that how you view and value marriage and how I view and value it has changed. Like it's different.
I'm gonna say you wouldn't say yes.
If I were to be able to foresee the future and know all of the stuff that came, no, nobody would say yes to those things.
I don't know. I've given you an amazing life.
You've given me an amazing life.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Martell.
Yeah, we've done things together, but ultimately, I've given you a great life. Yeah. In a relationship, you're gonna go through some things.
I get that, and that's why I stayed with you, Martell.
Okay. And through your stuff that I don't approve of, I stayed with you too. Because a lot of times people get divorced because their spouse not cooking all the time or cleaning up. You don't cook all the time.
Do not act like I don't clean up and I don't cook. I clean tubs, I clean toilets, I clean sinks. I do all of that.
Can you get yourself together? Because we do have to make a flight.
Thinking about this wedding makes me think about the disappointments that I've experienced with you, which are things that I wasn't expecting to experience.
You were 22, you probably weren't expecting anything.
I definitely didn't think that you doing what you did would be something that we'd have to deal with, especially not for as long as we had to deal with it. It wasn't like, I messed up, I'm caught, I'm out, let me stop my wife. No, I'm not going down this road. I think infidelity in a marriage is huge. It's not something that you can ever expect to just get over. There are going to be triggers. There are going to be things that cause you to think about what happened and how this person hurt you. Period. Like, that's just natural. That's going to happen.
When when I first started cheating, I think that's what you're talking about.
Of course you know.
You wasn't doing what you were supposed to do.
And what was that?
I call you. You didn't have time to talk to me, so what were you doing?
What was I doing?
I always complained. So I was like, "Hey, why you can't talk to me? I don't got time. I ain't got time."
I'm out of this meeting.
Me too. I had meetings. It doesn't matter. It's about having time for your spouse.
You pushed me. You got me more involved, doing more with the company, with the community, with everything else. And it was a setup for the okie doke. Because there's no way
you
I can
have
talk
so
to you
many
all
friends.
the time.
How does no male stop doing certain things? Sexual?
Hey, what about sexual? What did I say?
You wouldn't satisfy me.
How?
But period.
I wasn't satisfying you sexually?
No.
Did you ever talk to me about that? You never said to me, you're not satisfying me.
When we in the bed, I'm saying, babe, you ain't gonna do this for me? No. You ain't gonna do that for... No. What you think that is?
Okay.
That's disappointment.
Okay.
To your husband to tell him no for anything.
And does that open the door for you to be able to step out and do what you want to do? Of course. Okay, so all those years when there were certain things I was telling you that I wanted you to experience more sexually and do more and you didn't want to, should I have just stepped out? Just ask.
I can't recall that.
You can't, of course, you never can recall what you don't want to recall.
What, talk freaky? Okay, I don't want to talk freaky.
Yeah, you don't want it, so you open up that door. You have to learn and know the trophy that you have.
Okay,
when
but
you have a woman,
being a complete trophy if she's not taking care of her husband.
You got somebody who can talk to you all the time, who's cooking for you, who's satisfying you sexually. Why don't you take your ass on and be with her?
I don't want to.
Well, that's a damn shame.
You know what that's called?
What?
Filling that void. She filled that void.
Well, it sounds like you think you may just need two women.
Well, back in the day, in the Bible days, whatever, they had multiple women, so why not?
Okay, so in that soundbite, he was talking about, he starts off saying, if I were to propose again, would you say yes? And Mel had paused. And he was upset that she was not still head over heels like when they had first married 10 years prior. So we all know that this show debuted in 2019. So they filmed season 1 in 2018. And by 2018, they had been married for 10 years. And that was the year that Maurice and Kimmy were getting married. So they are preparing to go to Miami. And they start arguing after he says, if I were to propose again, would you say yes? And Melody has paused. She said, if I knew everything that was going to come down the pipeline, no. And she says in her confessional, when you get married, you don't anticipate, of course, that you're going to be disrespected, betrayed, and hurt thanks to an affair, but it's something very difficult to navigate through. And I think that that was a very real statement, very clearly put, that a lot of people could relate to. And I think that was really, even before the title Millimeters came to be, I think that her fan base really created a formation around what she was dealing with and her ability to clearly express it. So when they are talking and Melody is saying, nobody would really put up with infidelity. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. She said, when we first got married, I did not see this. Martell has the nerve to say, well, you were 22 when we got married. I'm sure you did not anticipate anything. That's a very interesting statement, Martell. It's almost giving like you targeted her to marry because of her youth. Now, I always felt like he definitely moved fast when it came to Melody so that she could fall in love and legally marry him before she saw the signs that he was a cheater and a narcissist, allegedly, and just my opinion. And he is a public figure, so he is going to be susceptible to people's opinions, whether favorable or unfavorable. But in any event, they dated, I believe they were engaged after like 6 to 8 months, and then they were only engaged for under a year. So definitely, in my opinion, that's moving fast. And I think that he did that before, she could hear the alarms going off about him and could see the red flags. So it's, it sounds like you set her up for the okey doke, Martell, by marrying her at 22. And then we also know that she says in another bedroom scene, you had me doing more when she was a teacher at the time. She said, you had me doing more with the business and in the community to set me up for the okey doke. Because all he did was turn around and use that against her, saying that, they did not spend enough time together. He later says that, like, I want us to talk more and I want us to spend more time together, but you're always so busy. Well, you set her up for that because we also know that you would later tell her, I'm the one who pulled you out the classroom. I'm the reason why you're making more money than when you were a teacher, because he always liked to depict teachers as such a crappy, sucky job when all of us have the skills that we have and the intellect that was pretty much developed because of teachers. So he does a lot of double talk. Whatever he thinks is going to help him in that moment, in that argument, in that situation, he's always in survival mode. But it's like a hustler or scammer survivor mode. It's all about gaslighting you. But Melody is smart and she is vocal and direct, so she doesn't fall for the gaslighting. She's saying, like, no, it's wrong to have two women, and definitely do not pull the Bible into it. I hate when people try to beat you with the Bible, so to speak. Of course, he does not know a scripture that says that a man can have more than one wife. The Bible, it pretty much promotes marriage, but not polygamy, sir. So you totally tried to beat her with the Bible and you were loud and wrong. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, and also I want to point out in that same soundbite, Martell tried to say that couples divorce over the wife not cooking. Really, Martell, someone's going to go file because their wife isn't, frying chicken and cooking macaroni and cheese and broccoli every night. We all know that a lot of times couples divorce over money and or an affair. And the Holtz had the money, but we know that Martell had the affair. Then, after he saw that he could not gaslight Melody, he pivoted to her not actually satisfying him in the bedroom. But yet they have not one, not two, not three, but four kids. And the oldest two, Mariah and Tank, they're not even a full year apart. They're like 11 months apart. So clearly, Martell, you and Melody were having sex and having a lot of it because she kept having your babies back to back, but anything to try and win an argument. And then this scene actually goes on where he says, when she talks about really women or couples are divorcing because women don't cook. And I do cook, Martell, and I clean toilets, sinks, bathtubs. Don't pretend like I don't cook and clean. Then Martell says, well, couples break up because women overtalk the husband. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. So you don't want her to use her brain and have an opinion, much less speak up for herself. So he really tried to gaslight. He's not very good at it, at least not for Melody. You would have to come a lot stronger. I'm pretty sure he can gaslight Ariane. It doesn't take as much. But yeah. Now let's move on, because in this same episode, he's going to meet with Dr. Francis. And he's going to be a little straight up, a little bit more straight up. And I think it's because, he's just not married to Dr. Francis. So he could be more honest. So we're going to talk about, because the production, they did a cutaway. So they would cut between Melody talking with a divorce lawyer that she was thinking about working with when she was thinking about filing for divorce. And then they would cut away to Martell's scene with Dr. Francis. This is the same therapy session where he refers to Ariane as a peasant. But in this soundbite, and that's a trip too, that's later on in this episode. And Dr. Francis says, really? You're going to call her that? And he goes, yeah. And he's like, what do you mean by peasant? And Martell says, low class. And Dr. Francis is like, is your wife a peasant? He said, no. So Dr. Francis was trying to make the point of the disconnect. How do you go from being with someone like Melody Cherie to having an affair with a peasant, your words, and then you define your words as low class? How does your wee just go in either both of those directions? That's crazy. But I want to talk about where he's actually a little bit more straight up with Dr. Francis versus when he tried to gaslight Melody. And we're going to hear some of Melody's conversation with the divorce lawyer because, again, production, cut away between the two back and forth.
During filing for divorce.
Is your husband on board with understanding that we probably do need to move in this direction?
No.
Okay. What's the reason for the divorce?
Adultery.
Okay.
And this is something kind of that we've been battling the past 2.5 years.
Is it ongoing currently?
I don't know about currently, but I don't want to live in a home or be in a marriage to where I'm not fully happy.
Have you thought what led to your infidelity? Wrong place at the wrong time. With the wrong person there, saying the wrong things, all of that. It seemed to me, though, that you negate your responsibility for self-governance. What made you decide that, listen, it's okay to be wrong? See, I'm hanging with some people that's doing all this stuff. It's like almost an introduction. They planted the seed. People say, birds of a feather flock together. Apparently, it has some weight to it because it's true. I started being similar to these people who are notorious for cheating. In my crazy mind, I'm like, okay, I want one person besides my wife. I want one person. What did you deserve from this woman that you couldn't get from your wife? It wasn't that she wasn't providing everything that I needed. Okay. All right. I just wanted more. In Alabama, adultery or having affairs, those are acute reasons for what we call an at-fault divorce.
Okay.
Meaning that one person or the other, their actions or their behavior is the sole or critical reason for the divorce. The way that assets and debts are divided, if a judge believes that one party is more at fault than the other, the judge can award more than 50% because that is what is fair. How long have you guys been married?
Well, we've been married. July will be 11 years.
Okay. Once you hit the 10 years worth of marriage, each of you now have the ability to make a claim on the other's retirement accounts. You'd be able to claim up to 1/2.
Oh, I'm glad I made it 10 years, honey. Okay, that sounds great. Right now, I'm just feeling like it's the potential loss of a marriage, potential loss of a friendship, potential loss of a family staying a unit. I'm very disappointed that it's got to this place, but Martell and I are done.
Let me show you something here. It says that self-study is the most important.
Okay, so in that clip, we saw where Melody was getting some advice from the divorce lawyer. He asked a lot of preliminary questions just to see pretty much, I guess, where the marriage was. And he gave Melody some helpful information after he learned how many years they've been married. And he gave her the heads up that, Alabama courts, they're going to try and push for any sort of reconciliation at first. And then, you can call witnesses. So that was like a very important scene, in my opinion, again, for any viewers who are in the same situation and they needed to get some sort of advice. Now, if you were in a different state, of course, there would be different state laws. But I felt like that was a very educational and informative scene. Then they would cut away to Martell's conversation with Dr. Francis. And Dr. Francis, one thing about him, he is a master at being straight up with a person without, he doesn't leave the door open for a highly offended person to be ready to jump down his throat. He breaks it down in a way almost like the person would admit it. Like with Dr. Francis, I felt like Martell was starting to admit his BS, but when it came to Melody, he would try to gaslight her. And Dr. Francis told him, like, it sounds like you're trying to negate from self-governance, self-control. Because what Martell was doing, I'll say this part, this was definitely not taking accountability. He talked about being around the wrong people at the wrong time and the wrong person saying the wrong things to me. So he's almost trying to make it seem like he was seduced by coleslaw. And in his confessional, he says, yeah, and I was hanging around people that, they do this on a regular basis. They cheat, and I shouldn't have been hanging with them. Oh, Martell, please. You are not a child or under hypnosis. You are a healthy adult male who can make your own decisions. And Dr. Francis asked him, well, what caused you to have the affair? And Martell admits that his wife was doing everything that his family needed. He said, I just wanted more. But with Melody, he tells her that she was not actually satisfying him. I'm leaving off the S for YouTube. He says he told Melody that she was not actually satisfying him. She was not cooking enough, and that in the Bible, the men had multiple wives. That is the verse that he made up for the Bible. All that gaslighting. But with Dr. Francis, he said he simply wanted more. And I want to talk about, when people are hyperactual, sometimes that's a result of being traumatized. Some people who experience actual abuse as a child, it can make them be hyperactual, perhaps even promiscuous, maybe. And sometimes, in my opinion, people who are promiscuous, they have a self-esteem issue. They lack self-respect. They have low self-worth. So they do not care how they treat their bodies, how they abuse their bodies. And it's very ironic because Martell, he, especially in season 1, he's always quote unquote going to the gym. And even this current season, we did see him at the gym with Trisha. We all know what that's about. So he talks about working out. I do believe when he and Sheree were fake dating, that was something that they could converse about, was their love for working out. Like there is an element to him that takes care of his physique, but then there's an element to Martell Holt where he abuses that same physique when he is promiscuous. And I think sometimes some people don't even see it as self-abuse when they do sleep around, allegedly. And it's just my opinion, Martell. I don't think that people may see it as self-abuse. And that's because of a lack of knowledge. Like you should have more respect for yourself. I get it that you may enjoy sex and you want the climax, you want that gratification, you want that feeling. But what's wrong with experiencing that same climax with one person? Even if you're not going to be married to them, if you're going to date them long term and the two of you are cool with that, what's wrong with that commitment to that one person? Between, STDs and HIV and all those different letters, honey, I don't want any of it. And I would much rather be committed to one person than to sleep around and just make myself susceptible to all sorts of disease. And then there's unwanted pregnancy. And then we all know where we are in this country socially when it comes to unwanted pregnancy. And then just at the end of the day, it just ain't cute. It's not cute. That's toxic masculinity. To think that you look like the man because you have all these bedroom partners. No, it looks like low self-worth, low self-respect, or no self-respect. And it's not attractive at all, not to a quality woman. So he'd have to continue getting with peasants, his words, in order to keep up this lifestyle. But what did you all think of these scenes between Melody and Martell, their argument as they were preparing to go to Maurice and Kimmy's wedding in Miami, to him admitting to Dr. Francis what he did not have the nerve to admit to Melody? I thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video as it is a free way of supporting the channel. And please subscribe to Shows Style and Spirit if you have not already done so. I hope you all are having a great weekend so far. And yeah, it is snow. It's not snowing right now. It snowed overnight. So it just makes me want to stay indoors. But I do feel like I should go to the gym. It's been 3 days, but the snow just makes me want to stay indoors, baby, plus the good leftovers. So let me know if you're staying in or if you're getting out. Now, I was going to do a little shopping. I definitely did some shopping on Melody's TikTok Live. I'm going to make a video for that as well. I had a good time. I stayed up much later than I thought, y'all, watching it. So I will talk with you all soon. Bye.